Episode 1, Sold to the Alpha. The night air reeked of desperation. The kind of desperation that clung to sweat-drenched skin, to trembling hands, to the hollow stares of those gathered in the underground hall. Torchlight flickered across stone walls, throwing cruel shadows over the faces of men and women who had come to bid on the broken, the discarded, and the unwanted. Tonight, I was one of them. I pulled the thin cloak tighter around my bare shoulders, though it did little to fight the cold that seeped into my bones. My wrists were bound in iron shackles, the heavy chain connecting them biting into my skin. A collar was fastened around my neck, iron again, engraved with runes I didn't recognize. The auctioneers didn't care that I was wolfless, powerless. To them, I was just another commodity, another body to sell to the highest bidder. The murmurs rose as I was shoved forward onto the stage. My knees buckled when the guard kicked me from behind, and I stumbled beneath the weight of so many eyes. A spotlight burned against my skin, illuminating every flaw, every imperfection. I heard gasps, a few murmurs of disgust, some mocking laughter. A wolfless she-wolf, the auctioneer sneered, yanking me upright by the collar. His voice carried over the room, sharp as a blade, unclaimed, unmarked, and worthless in the eyes of any pack. Yet, he dragged a hand down my arm, as though to display me like fine silk. She's young. She's fertile. And who knows? Perhaps the goddess hid some purpose even in broken goods. The hall erupted in laughter. My stomach churned with shame, but I lifted my chin anyway. They would not see me cry. Not here. Not now. Bids started low. A handful of coins. A mocking offer from a drunk noble who wanted a plaything. Another laugh from the back, suggesting I was worth less than a hunting dog. My chest burned with humiliation. Was this truly my fate? To be sold off like cattle because I had no wolf? And then silence. It wasn't gradual. It was absolute. The murmurs died, the laughter choked into nothing, and the air itself seemed to tighten as though the room were holding its breath. The auctioneer froze mid-sentence, his eyes widening as a shadow detached itself from the far end of the hall. He walked slowly, each step echoing against the stone floor. Tall, broad-shouldered. His presence was a storm, violent, suffocating, inescapable. Black clothing clung to his powerful frame, and though his expression was unreadable, his amber eyes burned like twin suns, catching the torchlight with an almost feral glow. Sebastian Valdez. The name hissed across the crowd in terrified whispers. The cursed alpha. The barbarian who had killed his own father. The wolf who thrived in others' pain. My heart stopped. The auctioneer nearly tripped over his own words as Sebastian came to stand before the stage. Lord Valdez, this one. She is hardly worth your... Mine. One word. Cold. Absolute. The room erupted in murmurs again, but none dared defy him. The auctioneer swallowed, his face pale. Why, yes, Alpha. Of course. Sold. A gavel cracked against the podium. My fate was sealed. I tried to breathe, but the collar felt like it was strangling me. My knees shook as the guards shoved me off the stage and into Sebastian's waiting shadow. His hand shot out, gripping the chain connected to my collar, and with a single tug, he dragged me forward. The heat of his body was overwhelming. He didn't look at me, not properly. His gaze was fixed straight ahead, dismissing me as though I were nothing more than a sack of grain he had purchased. Still, the bond flared. That impossible, suffocating mate bond. The moment his skin brushed mine, heat flooded through my veins, searing, undeniable. My wolfless body shouldn't have felt it, but I did. The unmistakable tug of the moon goddess's will. I bit my lip to stifle a gasp, but Sebastian's head turned slowly, his eyes locking on mine. For a heartbeat, I thought I saw something flicker there. Recognition. Fury. Desire. But it vanished in an instant, replaced by a sneer that cut me deeper than any blade. Don't mistake this bond for salvation, he growled, his voice low enough that only I could hear. I don't need a mate. I don't need you. He yanked the chain, dragging me behind him like a prisoner. My bare feet stumbled across the stone, each step pulling me further from freedom, from hope. The auction hall faded behind us, swallowed by the night. His men followed in silence, shadows wrapped in shadows. The world outside was colder, harsher, but it was the man who held my chain that chilled me most. Sebastian Valdez. My mate. My curse. The ride to his territory was endless. I was shoved into the back of a black carriage, the iron collar still biting into my throat. Through the barred window, I saw glimpses of the forest, dark trees clawing at the night sky, the moon hidden behind clouds. My wrists ached from the shackles, my heart from something worse. Across from me, Sebastian sat in silence. His posture was rigid, his expression carved from stone. His eyes, though, never stopped watching me. At last he spoke. "You're trembling." I glared at him, though my body betrayed me with every shiver. "You bought me. What do you expect?" He smirked, a cruel twist of lips. "Gratitude." The word made bile rise in my throat. "You'll never have it." For a moment, silence stretched between us. Then, without warning, he leaned forward, his hand gripping my jaw with bruising force. His amber eyes burned into mine, and I felt the bond roar between us, pulling, demanding. "You'll learn, little she-wolf," he whispered, his voice soft but venomous. "Every bond can be broken. Every will can be bent. And you," his thumb brushed across my lips, lingering far too long, "will bend for me." My stomach turned, but my heart pounded with something else. Fear, yes, but also confusion. Because beneath the cruelty in his gaze, there was something deeper. Something fractured. Something cursed. When the carriage stopped, I was dragged into the heart of his estate, a fortress of stone and shadow. Its towers clawed at the sky like talons. The gates groaned open, and I was pulled through, my chains rattling in the silence. The servants bowed their heads as we passed, their eyes full of fear. Not for me. For him. Inside, the air was colder. Dark tapestries lined the halls, depicting scenes of blood and conquest. Torches burned low, casting more shadow than light. Every step echoed, a drumbeat of doom. At last, we reached his chambers. The heavy doors creaked open, revealing a vast room draped in crimson and black. A bed loomed at the center, its sheets dark as dried blood. Sebastian released my chain, but before I could stumble back, his hand tangled in my hair, jerking my head back until I met his eyes. "Your life in hell begins tonight," he said simply. And with that, the doors slammed shut. Episode 2, The Cage of Desire. The heavy doors slammed behind me with a finality that felt like chains tightening around my soul. The echo reverberated through the cavernous chamber, and in that silence, I realized something chilling. I was trapped. The collar weighed heavily around my neck, its rune-carved metal searing against my skin like a brand. My wrists remained shackled, the iron links clinking whenever I dared to move. I wanted to sink into the floor, disappear into shadow, but Sebastian's eyes anchored me where I stood. He hadn't moved from where he dropped the chain. He leaned against the towering bed frame, arms crossed over his chest, amber eyes burning with a cruel amusement that made my stomach twist. "Take it in," he said at last, his voice as calm as it was menacing. "This room, these walls, this cage. It's all you'll ever know from this night onward." The word cage sent a violent shiver through me. My gaze darted around the chamber. Tall windows sealed with iron bars. A balcony that opened to the night but with sheer drops to jagged cliffs below. Doors bolted shut from the outside. He was right. This was a cage, one draped in velvet and silk, but a cage nonetheless. I swallowed hard, forcing words through a dry throat. You can't just keep me here." He arched a brow. "Can't." He pushed off from the bed and began to circle me, his footsteps measured, predatory. "I bought you. I own you. Your parents gave you away like a lamb at slaughter. And now, little lamb, you're mine to do with as I please." My heart slammed painfully against my ribs. I wanted to scream at him, claw at him, demand he let me go. But fear kept my body trembling and my voice trapped in my throat. Instead, I whispered the only truth I could cling to. "We're mates." For the first time, his perfect composure cracked. His stride slowed. His amber eyes flared with an emotion I couldn't name. Anger, disdain, maybe even pain. He stopped just inches from me, towering above, his scent invading my lungs. Smoke, iron, and something primal, something feral. "Don't," he snarled, his hands snapping up to grip my jaw, forcing my gaze into his. "Don't think that bond means anything to me. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. The goddess's games don't bind me." The rejection sliced deeper than the iron, cutting into my skin. Every cell in my body screamed against it. The bond thrummed angrily, like a wounded thing, clawing at my heart. I bit my lip to stop it from trembling, but a bitter tear slipped free. His gaze flickered to that tear. For a heartbeat, his grip loosened, but then he clenched harder, his cruelty snapping back like a whip. "You think being my mate saves you from what I am," he hissed. "You're here for one reason only. To tame the beast inside me. Nothing more." He shoved me back, and I stumbled against the bed. The soft crimson sheets caught my fall, but the contrast, the luxury beneath me, the shackles on my wrists, made bile rise in my throat. I tried to crawl back, pressing against the headboard, my breath shallow. "Please don't." Sebastian stalked forward, each step deliberate, like a predator cornering prey. His shadow swallowed me, and when he leaned down, his voice was a growl that vibrated against my bones. "Begging won't save you, Athena. You'll learn soon enough that in my world, mercy doesn't exist." His hand tangled in my hair again, yanking my head back until my throat was bared to him. The mate bond flared violently, heat coursing through my veins despite the terror clawing at my chest. I hated it. Hated the way my body betrayed me, how the bond craved him even as my soul screamed for escape. He noticed. Of course he noticed. A dark smile curved his lips as he leaned closer, his breath hot against my ear. "There it is. The bond's pull. You feel it, don't you? You want me, even if you hate me." "No," I choked, though my trembling voice betrayed me. "I don't." He chuckled, low and cruel, the sound vibrating through me. "Liar." His lips brushed against my neck, not a kiss, but a threat, lingering just above my pulse. My heart raced so violently I thought it might burst. And then, as if proving his words, his tongue flicked across my skin. My entire body convulsed with a shameful shiver. He pulled back, eyes glinting with triumph. "You can't fight destiny, Athena. You belong to me. And the sooner you accept that, the easier it will be for both of us." I wanted to spit at him, to curse the bond, to curse the moon goddess herself for chaining me to this monster. But before I could summon the courage, his expression shifted. The smirk faltered, replaced by something darker. His hand released my hair, and for a moment he stood still, staring at me like a man torn in two. His jaw clenched, his breath uneven. "Damn it," he muttered under his breath, so low I almost didn't hear. When his gaze met mine again, the cruelty had dulled, replaced by raw frustration. "You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be mine." He turned abruptly, striding toward the window, his fists clenching at his sides. I stayed frozen against the bed, too afraid to move, too confused to speak. Through the bars, the moonlight bathed him in silver. His back was rigid, but his shoulders trembled ever so slightly. He looked less like a monster then, and more like a man at war with himself. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken truths. Finally, he spoke, his voice quieter this time. "They say I'm cursed," he said, his gaze fixed on the moon. "That the goddess marked me for destruction the day I killed my father. That anyone bound to me will suffer." My breath caught. His curse. The whispers, the rumors, they were real. Slowly, he turned back to me, his eyes haunted in a way I hadn't seen before. "Do you understand now? This bond isn't salvation. It's damnation." I swallowed hard, my fear mixing with something else now, pity. But I shoved it down. He was still my captor. Still the man who had dragged me from an auction and claimed me as his property. Yet, in the shadows of his pain, I glimpsed something dangerous. The possibility that beneath the sadistic mask was a man drowning in his own torment. A man who might one day destroy me, or save me. Episode 3, The Curse Unveiled. The night air pressed cold and sharp against my skin as I crept along the stone hallway, the heavy iron collar biting at my throat with every breath. My bare feet made no sound, but my heart thundered so loudly I was certain the guards outside would hear. For hours I had waited until Sebastian finally left the chamber after his strange confession. He hadn't locked the inner door properly, perhaps because he thought fear itself was a stronger prison than chains. He wasn't wrong, but tonight, I forced my trembling body into rebellion. I had to get out. I pressed against the wooden door, wincing when it groaned softly. The torches lining the hallway sputtered as if mocking my pathetic attempt at freedom. One step. Just one step outside this room, and I'll be closer to the cliffs. Closer to escape. I gripped the iron collar and pulled. Pain seared my neck as the runes burned hotter, but I ignored it. I forced myself down the hallway, each breath shallow, each heartbeat louder. And then, "Going somewhere, little lamb?" His voice. Deep. Calm. Cruel. I froze mid-step, my body locking like prey caught in a hunter's gaze. Slowly I turned. Sebastian leaned casually against the shadows, one hand resting on the hilt of his blade, amber eyes glowing like molten fire in the torchlight. He looked like he had been waiting. Like he had known. My knees nearly buckled, but I forced myself to stand tall. I was just what? His boots clicked against the stone as he stalked toward me, each step deliberate, measured. Just running? Just betraying? Just proving what I already knew, that you're too weak to stand beside me. I stumbled back until my shoulders hit the cold stone wall. Panic clawed at my throat. Please. I just wanted air. I can't breathe in that cage. For a fleeting second, his jaw clenched, as if my words struck deeper than intended. But then the mask returned, crueler than before. He grabbed my chin, forcing my gaze up into his blazing eyes. "You don't breathe unless I allow it," he growled. His grip tightened painfully, and I whimpered, the sound echoing through the empty hallway. His lips curled in disgust, and with a shove, he slammed me against the wall. My shackles rattled, the iron biting into my wrists. "You belong to me, Athena. Don't ever forget that." And when you try to run, his lips pressed close to my ear, his breath scalding. "You'll find that this cage follows you everywhere." Tears burned my eyes, but before I could choke out another plea, his entire body stiffened. His eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw something raw in him. Pain. He staggered back, clutching at his chest. His breaths came ragged, uneven, his body trembling as though something invisible was tearing at his soul. His knees buckled, and he dropped to the floor, his fists slamming against the stone. A guttural roar ripped from his throat, so feral it made my blood run cold. I froze, pressing against the wall, too terrified to move. His amber eyes flared unnaturally bright, and veins of black streaked across his skin, spreading like poison. His body convulsed, his muscles tightening violently as though the beast inside him was tearing to be free. "Not now," he snarled to no one, his voice ragged with agony. "Damn you, goddess, not now." The torches flickered wildly, their flames bending inward, drawn toward him as if he were a vortex of darkness. Shadows writhed along the walls, twisting into grotesque shapes. And then, as suddenly as it began, the storm inside him subsided. He collapsed onto his knees, gasping for air, his skin drenched in sweat, the black veins fading slowly until only pale exhaustion remained. I stayed frozen, my entire body trembling. I had seen monsters before, but this was different. This was cursed. Slowly, he lifted his gaze to me. For once, there was no cruelty, no smirk. Only raw, unfiltered torment. "You wanted to know why you shouldn't have been bound to me?" His voice was hoarse, broken. He pushed himself upright with effort, his body still trembling. That is why." I swallowed hard, my back pressed so tightly to the wall it hurt. What was that? His laugh was hollow bitter. "The curse. The goddess chained it to me the day I killed my father. It feeds on me, on anyone near me. And when it hungers," he trailed off, his gaze darkening, "it destroys." I shook my head slowly, unable to fully grasp it. "Then why keep me here? Why drag me into this if you know what it does? His jaw clenched. He stood and strode closer, though his movements lacked their usual sharpness. His hand came up, cupping my jaw, not cruel this time, but trembling. Because you're the only one strong enough to survive it. The words shattered something inside me. He said them with certainty, as though it were a truth etched in his bones. But I couldn't tell if it was protection or a death sentence. I wanted to scream at him, to claw at him, to tell him I wasn't strong, that I wasn't anyone's salvation. But when his amber eyes locked on mine, I couldn't move. For a flicker of a heartbeat, I saw the boy beneath the monster, the son who had killed his own father, the king cursed by his own bloodline, the man whose every breath was a war with darkness. And in that heartbeat, I realized something horrifying. The bond didn't just crave him. It pitted him. Episode 4, Whispers of Escape. The days blurred together in a haze of stone walls, iron chains, and the steady rhythm of my own terrified heartbeat. Yet ever since that night, the night I saw Sebastian collapse under a darkness that wasn't human, I could no longer see him as just the sadistic monster who owned me. He was still cruel, still brutal, still the alpha who reminded me with every touch, every command, that I was his property. But behind his eyes now, I saw something else. A fracture. A shadow screaming to be noticed. And sometimes, in the quiet hours when the torches dimmed and the castle sank into uneasy silence, I wondered if his torment was worse than mine. The heavy oak door groaned open, jolting me from my thoughts. A servant girl entered, her head bowed low, carrying a tray of bread and broth. Her hands trembled so badly the spoon rattled against the bowl. Sebastian had ordered me confined to this chamber for my safety, or more truthfully, to prevent another escape attempt. Chains bit into my wrists, tethering me to the iron ring bolted into the wall. "Put it down," I whispered, my voice hoarse from silence. The girl obeyed quickly, setting the tray on the stone floor. She hesitated only a moment before her wide brown eyes flicked toward me. And in that fleeting look, I saw something, pity. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but footsteps echoed down the hall. Panic flashed across her face. She bowed low, retreating so swiftly it was as if she had never been there. But not before she slipped something beneath the tray. When the door closed, I leaned forward, my chains rattling softly. My fingers brushed against the rough parchment. A note. I unfolded it with trembling hands, the candlelight catching the hastily scrawled words. "There is a way out. Wait for the black moon. Follow the whispers through the north tower." My heart slammed against my ribs. Escape. That night, I barely slept. My mind gnawed at the words like a starving wolf. The black moon. A rare celestial night, when the sky would be devoured in darkness. No moonlight. No stars. Only shadow. And whispers. What did that mean? Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of wind through the cracks in the stone felt like secrets calling my name. But Sebastian. He had been different since the night of the curse. He hadn't touched me in days, hadn't sought to break me with his usual violence. Instead, he lingered in the shadows of the room, watching. His eyes followed me like a predator, yet there was restraint in them now. Restraint and fear. On the third night, he entered without his usual armor of arrogance. His hair was damp, his jaw shadowed by stubble. He carried no whip, no chains. Only a heavy silence. "You tried to run again." His voice was low, almost conversational, though every syllable carried the weight of unspoken threat. I swallowed hard, the note burning like fire against my thigh where I had hidden it. "Wouldn't you?" I whispered, surprising myself with the edge in my tone. His head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing. For a moment I braced for violence. But instead of striking me, he laughed, a humorless, bitter sound. "You think I wouldn't?" He stepped closer, his amber eyes glowing faintly. "Every night, Athena. Every cursed night I dream of tearing this bond apart, of escaping this thing inside me. But there is no escape. Not for me. Not for you." He leaned down until his face hovered inches from mine, his breath warm against my cheek. "So stop wasting your strength on hope. Hope is a crueler prison than chains. My throat tightened. Maybe for you. Not for me. For a long, unbearable moment, we stared at each other. His hand lifted, almost tender, to brush a strand of hair from my face. My body flinched instinctively, but he froze mid-gesture, his jaw clenching. He pulled back as if burned, turning away. Sleep. You'll need it. When the door slammed shut, I collapsed against the wall, my entire body trembling. He was breaking. And I didn't know whether that made him more dangerous or more human. The black moon arrived sooner than expected. The castle was draped in an unnatural stillness. No wolves howled. No guards patrolled the corridors. Even the torches burned low, as though the flames themselves feared the dark sky above. I waited until the bells struck midnight. My chains hung loose tonight. Sebastian hadn't fastened them properly, whether by accident or intent. I couldn't tell. My heart thundered as I slid the iron loop free and pressed the hidden note to my lips like a prayer. North Tower. I slipped into the hallway, shadows swallowing me whole. Every corner groaned under the weight of silence. My bare feet padded over the cold stones, carrying me toward freedom. But then, a voice. Whisper soft, curling through the air like smoke. Athena. I froze, my blood turning to ice. The voice wasn't Sebastian's. It wasn't anyone's I recognized. It came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Athena, this way. The hairs on my neck rose. I followed despite myself, drawn as though by invisible strings. The whispers wound through the dark hallways, leading me higher, deeper, toward the North Tower. At the base of the spiral staircase, I hesitated. The steps rose endlessly into the dark, each one slick with age. Athena. The voice was clearer now, almost urgent. I climbed. One step. Another. The spiral stretched until my legs ached, but I didn't stop. Not until I reached a door bound in rusted iron. My fingers shook as I pushed it open. Inside was a chamber I had never seen before. Symbols etched into the stone glowed faintly in the black moonlight filtering through a cracked window. At the center, an altar of obsidian pulsed with unnatural light, and on it chains. Chains identical to the ones on my wrists. I stepped closer, heart hammering. The whispers grew deafening. Break the chains, break the curse. My fingers brushed the cold metal. Behind me, the door slammed. I whirled. Sebastian stood in the doorway, his eyes wild, his chest heaving. What the hell do you think you're doing? The whispers fell silent. And I realized I had been caught between two cages. One of flesh, one of shadow. And neither would let me go without a fight. Episode 5, The Alpha's Weakness. The silence after the door slammed shut was louder than any scream. Sebastian's massive frame filled the chamber, his amber eyes burning like fire. For a heartbeat, I thought he would rip me apart where I stood. What? He growled, each syllable trembling with restrained fury. Do you think you are doing here? My mouth went dry. My fingers hovered over the cold chains on the obsidian altar. The whispers had faded the moment he entered, leaving only the pounding of my heart. My voice cracked, but I forced it out. I was trying to understand. To know what you are hiding. His lips curled back, revealing sharp teeth. You dare. His voice was velvet laced with venom. You dare step into this place, touch what you do not comprehend? I backed away, but the altar pressed against my spine. You can chain me, Sebastian, you can break me, but you can't expect me to stay blind forever. I saw it. That night. The curse. What it does to you. For a flicker of a second, his eyes widened. Vulnerability. Then rage swallowed it whole. He lunged forward, one hand closing around my throat, slamming me against the wall. The air rushed from my lungs as I clawed at his wrist. His grip was unyielding, his breath hot and ragged. You know nothing, he roared, shaking me like a rag doll. Nothing of me, nothing of this. His free hand gestured wildly to the glowing symbols, to the cursed chains. This is not yours to touch, not yours to know. Spots danced before my vision. My body screamed for air. Yet beneath the terror I saw something else. His hand trembled. Not from hesitation. From pain. His veins darkened, creeping black lines crawling up his arm, spreading like poison beneath his skin. His eyes flickered, not amber, but a chilling void of crimson shadow. He released me suddenly, staggering back as though struck. I collapsed to my knees, gasping, clutching my throat. Through the blur of tears, I saw him. The great Alpha Sebastian, feared by all, dropped to one knee, his hand clawing at his chest. "No," he choked, his voice strangled with agony. "Not now." His body convulsed, muscles locking, sweat streaming down his temple. His breath came in ragged gasps, like an animal caught in a trap. And for the first time I saw it, his weakness. I crawled forward despite the chains rattling at my wrists. "What's happening to you?" I whispered. His head snapped toward me, his face twisted with rage and desperation. "Stay back." But I didn't. Something inside me, stronger than fear, pushed me closer. I reached out, my hand brushing his arm. His skin was burning, pulsing with the black veins crawling up to his neck. He flinched violently, yet didn't push me away. "It's the curse, isn't it?" I pressed, my voice low, urgent. "It's killing you." His laugh was broken, hollow. "Killing me? No, little wolf. It keeps me alive. It feeds on me. On blood. On suffering. And when it hungers," he looked at me then, eyes half shadow, half man. "I feed it you." The words cut deeper than any whip. Tears blurred my vision, but still I whispered, "Then maybe it's not me who's chained, Sebastian. Maybe it's you." He froze. For a heartbeat, his monstrous expression faltered. His breathing slowed, ragged but human again. His eyes, glowing faintly, searched mine as though I had struck some forbidden truth. "Don't," he rasped. "Don't speak as if you know me. You can't know. You'll never know." But I did know. I saw it in every flicker of pain across his face, every shudder of his cursed body. He was breaking. Not just the beast inside him, the man too. And in that fracture I saw my chance. Later, when the curse had ebbed, Sebastian collapsed against the altar, exhausted. He didn't chain me again. He didn't speak. He just sat there, chest heaving, staring into the darkness as if daring it to devour him. I stayed quiet, though my mind raced. The Alpha had a weakness. Not just the curse. Not just the black veins tearing through him. But the truth he refused to face, that he was as much a prisoner as I was. If I could exploit it, twist it, maybe, just maybe, I could turn this cage into my weapon. The next morning, when he entered my chamber, I expected fury, punishment, another cruel reminder of my place. But instead, he simply stood in the doorway, watching me as if weighing something. Finally, he spoke. His voice was raw, stripped of its usual cruelty. "You shouldn't have followed the whispers. They'll kill you." I lifted my chin. "Maybe they'll free me." His jaw tightened, but he didn't strike. Instead, he whispered almost too softly to hear, "There is no freedom here, Athena. Not for either of us." Then he turned, leaving me with the echo of his words. For the first time, I realized Sebastian's weakness wasn't just the curse. It was me. Episode 6, The Rival's Threat. The night was thick with tension. The cursed chains in the northern tower had fallen silent after Sebastian's latest outburst, yet the silence didn't bring peace. It was the silence before a storm. I lay on the cold stone floor of my chamber, my body aching from yesterday's confrontation. My mind refused to rest. His words haunted me. "There is no freedom here, Athena. Not for either of us." Was that the truth? Or just another cage he wanted me to accept? The answer came with the sound of distant horns. Not his guards, not the usual patrol. This was different, louder, sharper, like the herald of war. My heart raced. I sat up, straining to hear. Moments later, the heavy doors of my chamber burst open. It wasn't Sebastian. It was someone else. Tall, broad, smiling with the arrogance of a wolf who thought he owned the world. His hair was darker than midnight, his eyes a cruel silver. Well, he drawled, stepping into the room as if it already belonged to him. So the rumors were true. The cursed Alpha does keep a little pet. I scrambled backward until my spine hit the wall. "Who are you?" His smile widened. The one who will free you. Or destroy you. That depends entirely on what you're worth. Sebastian arrived a moment later. The air itself seemed to crack when he entered, fury rolling off him like fire. His gaze locked onto the intruder, and for the first time since I'd met him, Sebastian's cruelty wasn't aimed at me. Darius, he spat the name like venom. You dare walk into my stronghold? The silver-eyed wolf, Darius laughed. Stronghold? You mean your crumbling cage? You're too weak to guard it anymore, Sebastian. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows. The curse is eating you alive. My eyes widened. Darius knew. He knew about Sebastian's curse. Sebastian's fists clenched, the veins in his forearms bulging with restrained violence. Say another word, and you'll choke on your own blood. Darius didn't flinch. Instead, his gaze shifted to me. And this must be the girl. The wolf-less pretty thing you dragged from the auction. Your mate. He smirked, stepping closer. Tell me, Athena, do you know what kind of monster you're tied to? Do you know how many innocents have screamed his name before he ripped them apart? I froze. My lips parted, but no words came. Sebastian's roar shattered the chamber. In a flash, he had Darius pinned against the wall, claws digging into his rival's throat. The stone cracked under the force. You don't speak her name, Sebastian growled, his amber eyes blazing. Not ever. For one heartbeat, I felt it, his protectiveness. It was raw, feral, almost possessive. Darius coughed, yet he still managed a laugh. Look at you. The cursed alpha, desperate to shield the only thing you can't control. You're slipping, Sebastian. And when you fall, I'll be there to claim both your throne and your little Luna. The word Luna twisted in my chest like a blade. Sebastian snarled, slamming him harder against the wall. The black veins of his curse flickered beneath his skin, threatening to consume him. No one touches her, he roared. The guards finally stormed in, weapons drawn, but Sebastian didn't need them. With one violent shove, he threw Darius across the chamber. His rival landed hard, yet somehow still grinned through bloodied lips. This isn't over, Darius spat, wiping the blood from his mouth. His silver eyes glimmered with dark promise. Enjoy your little toy while you can. When your curse finally rots you from the inside, I'll be waiting. And she, his gaze flicked to me again, will beg me for mercy. Then, like smoke, he was gone. The chamber fell silent again, but it wasn't peace. It was suffocating, dangerous silence. Sebastian stood in the wreckage, his chest heaving, his hands trembling. His eyes turned to me. For a long moment, he said nothing. Just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then, with a voice low and ragged, he whispered, "You will never go near him. Do you understand?" I swallowed hard, my body shaking. And if he comes near me, his jaw tightened. Then he dies. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed every word Darius had said. His taunts, his threats, his promise to claim me, and Sebastian's reaction. For the first time, I wondered if his fury wasn't just cruelty. Maybe, buried under layers of violence and darkness, there was something else. Something terrifying in its own way. Possession. Protection. Desire. The cursed alpha had an enemy, and that enemy had seen me as the weakness. I realized then, I wasn't just trapped in Sebastian's cage. I was the key to it, and both of them knew it. Episode 7, Chains of the Heart. The fortress was never truly quiet. Even in the stillest hours of night, whispers of chains echoed through its cold stone halls. Tonight, those whispers carried weight, not from the cursed spirits clawing in the northern tower, but from the heavy silence that lay between Sebastian and me. He hadn't spoken a word since Darius's intrusion. He stalked through the halls like a predator denied its prey, his hands flexing, his jaw clenching, his body a storm barely contained. And I, his supposed possession, sat chained to the bedpost in his chamber, watching him pace like a caged wolf. Every time his amber eyes flicked toward me, I felt the heat of his fury, but beneath it, something else lingered. A fracture. A hesitation. I dared to whisper, "He knows your curse." Sebastian froze mid-step. The air thickened. Slowly he turned to me, his eyes burning with a ferocity that made my throat tighten. "You will not speak of it." I swallowed, refusing to look away. "Then why does it control you so easily?" His roar shook the chamber. In 2 strides, he was on me, his hand clamped around my throat, pushing me against the bed's headboard. His face hovered inches from mine, his breath ragged, his curse flickering black veins beneath his skin. "You think you understand me," he growled. "You know nothing of the chains I carry, nothing of the blood I've drowned in just to keep breathing." I clawed at his wrist, but not out of desperation, out of defiance. "Then show me," I gasped. "If I am nothing to you but a cage, then prove it. Let me see the heart you keep buried under all this cruelty." His grip faltered. For a single heartbeat, his eyes softened, raw pain flashing like a wound torn open. Then he shoved me away and staggered back, his chest heaving. "You don't want to see my heart," he rasped. "It's already rotted." The night stretched on, unbearable. He sat in the corner, silent, clutching a goblet of blood-red wine as if it could wash away the curse within him. I sat chained, my wrists bruised but my mind sharper than ever. I saw him. Not the monster, not the abuser, but the man shackled by his own demons. And the realization terrified me, because the more I saw him, the harder it became to hate him. At dawn, he came to me again. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse. "I should kill you," he muttered, kneeling before me. His hand brushed against my chain, testing its strength. "You are my weakness." Darius was right. I held his gaze. "Or maybe I'm your cure." His laugh was broken hollow. "You? A wolfless girl sold at an auction? You could never undo what I am." I leaned forward, my chains rattling. "Then why do you tremble when I speak? Why do you look at me like I'm more dangerous than your curse?" He flinched. For the first time, the indomitable Alpha looked cornered. The day brought no relief. Rumors of Darius's threat spread through the fortress. The guards whispered, the servants scurried, and the air thickened with the scent of rebellion. Sebastian grew harsher, barking orders, punishing any who disobeyed. Yet every time he returned to his chamber, his fury faltered when his eyes landed on me. That night, he snapped. "You will not leave this room," he ordered, grabbing my chin and forcing me to meet his gaze. "If I have to bind you to this bed for eternity, I will. You will not give him the satisfaction of seeing you again." My heart pounded, but I refused to cower. "You're not afraid of losing me to him. You're afraid of losing yourself to me." The words sliced deeper than any blade. His hands shook as they released me. He stepped back, staring as if I had struck him. "You don't understand what you're saying," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I can't let you in. If I do, the curse will consume us both." That night, when he thought I was asleep, I heard him whisper, "Moon goddess, why her? Why now? Why when I have nothing left to give?" His voice broke, and in that moment, I knew. His chains weren't just iron and blood. They were his heart. Episode 8 of the attempted betrayal. The fortress had grown restless since Darius's last visit. Shadows lingered too long in the corners. Whispers slithered through the hallways, and Sebastian's paranoia became a living thing. Every night, the cursed Alpha prowled like a beast pacing the bars of his own cage, his amber eyes aflame with suspicion. His men obeyed without question, but even they could sense the tightening noose around them all. And I, still chained to his chamber, felt the weight of every eye, every lock, every decision pressing down on me. For the first time, I began to wonder if the chains on my wrists weren't the worst prison. Maybe the real prison was the one tightening around my heart. That night, I heard it, the faint scrape of steel on stone, the hush of boots against marble. Intruders. The door creaked open, and 3 hooded figures slipped inside. I froze, my pulse hammering in my throat. "Athena," one of them hissed. "Come quickly. Lord Darius sent us. This is your only chance." The chain on my wrist rattled softly. My voice cracked. How did you get in?" "We have allies," the man answered sharply. "We'll break the lock. But you must choose now. Stay, and rot in his cage. Or come and live." My breath caught. Freedom. The words struck me like lightning. I could almost feel the wind in my hair, the grass under my feet. No more bruises, no more punishments. But then, Sebastian's face flared in my mind. His broken whispers in the dark. His trembling hands when he thought I was asleep. His curse, gnawing him from the inside out. If I left, if I betrayed him, Darius would use me as a weapon, and Sebastian would burn the world down to take me back. The intruders drew daggers. "We don't have time." One of them lunged at the chain, trying to sever it. I yanked my arm back. "Wait." They froze. "I can't." My voice cracked, shaking with fury at myself. "I can't just leave." Their eyes narrowed. "You're choosing him? After everything he's done?" The words sliced deep. Memories of pain, of nights filled with tears and fear, surged like waves. I hated myself for what I said next. "Yes," I whispered. "Because if I run, it won't save me. It will kill us both." The door slammed open. Sebastian stood there, shadows clinging to his frame like a cloak of death. His curse pulsed, black veins crawling along his arms, his chest, his neck. His eyes glowed like molten amber, no, like fire itself. "What?" he growled, each word dripping venom. "Is this?" The intruders tried to scatter. They didn't make it far. Sebastian was faster than death itself. His claws tore through one man's throat in a single swipe. Another he crushed against the wall, bones shattering under his grip. The last fell to his knees, begging. But Sebastian ripped his head back and snapped his neck like kindling. The chamber reeked of blood and terror. My stomach lurched. And then his gaze fell on me. "You," he snarled, stalking toward me. "Did you invite them?" "No." My chains rattled as I shook my head frantically. "I didn't." "Sebastian, listen." He seized my face, forcing me to meet his blazing eyes. "They spoke to you. You hesitated." Tears stung my vision. "Because they offered me freedom." I shouted, the words ripping out of me. "Do you think I don't dream of running from you every night?" But I didn't go. I stayed. I stayed for you. The silence that followed was deafening. Sebastian's grip trembled. His breath came harsh and ragged. For a heartbeat, I thought he might kill me where I sat. Then his hand loosened. He stepped back as though burned. "You're a fool," he rasped. "A damned, cursed fool." Hours later, the bodies were gone. The blood scrubbed from the floor, but the stain on our bond lingered. Sebastian hadn't spoken since. He sat with his back to me, his shoulders rigid, his hands shaking as if he couldn't decide whether to strangle me or protect me. And I lay awake, my wrists aching, my chest heaving. I had chosen him. Against every instinct, against every scar, against every whispered promise of freedom, I had chosen him. But would he ever believe it? Episode 9, Breaking the Curse. The fortress no longer slept. Every stone of its towering walls thrummed with an energy that wasn't natural, dark veins spreading like rot, whispers crawling from cracks in the ceiling. The curse was no longer Sebastian's secret. It was consuming everything, and I could feel it, even from my chains. The air grew colder each night, the moonlight dimmer. It was as though the world itself recoiled from him. But what terrified me most wasn't the curse. It was the way Sebastian yielded to it. That evening, I found him in his chamber, shirt torn, knuckles bloodied, amber eyes hollow. He stood before the mirror, his reflection crawling with black veins, his breath fogging the glass. "Sebastian," I whispered. He didn't move. "Sebastian, you're bleeding." He laughed, a broken sound. "Blood is all I am, Athena. Blood and ruin." He turned to me, and my chest seized. His eyes weren't just amber anymore. They flickered red, glowing with something monstrous. "Stay away," he growled. "If you come closer, I won't stop myself." Not this time. But I didn't move back. For once, I stepped forward. I remembered the whispers of the intruders, the fragments of legends I'd overheard in the fortress halls. A cursed alpha, born of betrayal, damned to feed his wolf with suffering until death breaks the chain. The curse wasn't random. It was forged in blood. His father's. His mother's. His ancestors. And I was somehow part of it now. "Tell me," I said, my voice trembling. Tell me what your curse truly is." His lips pulled back in a snarl. "You want to know? Then listen well. My wolf craves agony. Every scream, every tear, every broken bone. It feeds the beast inside me. If I stop hurting others, I die. That is my curse." My heart stopped. He stepped closer, his breath hot and ragged. "Do you see now, Athena? I never hurt you because I hated you. I hurt you because if I didn't, my own wolf would tear me apart from the inside out." Tears burned my eyes. He thought he was doomed. But deep inside, I felt it, the flicker of something stronger. "No," I whispered. "You're wrong." His laugh was sharp, bitter. "Wrong? Do you think love is going to fix me? Do you think your pity will break chains forged in blood and death?" I shook my head. "Not love, but a bond." I stepped closer until my shackled wrists touched his chest. His skin burned like fire, veins pulsing with black poison. "I am your mate, Sebastian. That bond is stronger than curses, stronger than blood. If you'll let me in." He grabbed me, his claws grazing my throat. His voice cracked with fury. "Stop. You don't know what you're saying. If I let you in, the wolf will devour you. It will kill you." "Then let it," I whispered fiercely. "Better me than you." The air split with a thunderous roar. His body convulsed, the curse lashing out like chains of shadow. Black energy writhed around us, tearing at the walls, shattering glass, rattling the very foundations of the fortress. I screamed as the force slammed into me, my body racked with pain. But I didn't let go. "Sebastian," I cried, clutching his face, forcing him to look at me. "You are not your curse. You are not your father's sin." He thrashed, his claws cutting deep into my shoulders, his fangs grazing my throat. My blood spilled, hot and thick, staining his lips. For a heartbeat, I thought he would end me. But then he froze. Something shifted in his gaze. The red flickered, fighting against the amber. His wolf snarled, but beneath it, I saw him, the broken man, the terrified child, the alpha who had never known peace. He fell to his knees, dragging me down with him. His hands trembled as though fighting invisible shackles. "Athena," his voice cracked like glass. "Why? Why would you do this? Why not run? Why not hate me?" Tears blurred my sight. I pressed my forehead to his. "Because I see you," I whispered. "Not the curse. Not the monster. You." The shadows writhed one last time, then shattered like smoke in the wind. The chamber went still. Sebastian gasped, collapsing against me. His body was still scarred, his veins still dark, but the violent hunger in his eyes had quieted. It wasn't gone. Not yet. But something had broken. Something had changed. And for the first time, Sebastian held me without chains, without cruelty, without violence. Just a man clinging to the only light he had left. But as I cradled him in my arms, I knew this was only the beginning. Breaking a curse was never simple. And if fate demanded blood to finish what I had started, then it would be mine. Episode 10, Redeemed by Fate. The fortress was quieter than it had ever been. Too quiet. The curse's storm had broken, but what lingered was more dangerous than thunder. An unnatural stillness, the kind that comes before blood is spilled. I stood by the shattered window, the wind tugging at my torn dress, watching the horizon darken with gathering shadows. They weren't clouds. They were wolves. Hundreds of them, answering a call of blood. Sebastian's rivals, enemies of his house, circling like vultures after catching the scent of weakness. This was the endgame. And I was the weapon. Or the sacrifice. Behind me, Sebastian stirred. He was sprawled across the ruined bed, bare chest slick with sweat, his breath ragged. The black veins had faded slightly after our confrontation, but they still crawled across his skin like scars of fire. His wolf stirred beneath the surface, restless and furious, but not consuming. For the first time, he looked fragile. He opened his eyes, amber, not crimson. "Athena," he rasped. I went to him, kneeling at his side. My fingers brushed his damp hair back, and his hand caught mine. His grip was trembling, yet desperate. "You should leave," he whispered. "They'll come for me soon." And if you stay, I silenced him with a touch to his lips. I'm not leaving you. His jaw clenched. You don't understand. If the curse takes me again, I won't stop it this time. I'll end you. I shook my head, my chest aching with a truth I could no longer deny. If it takes you, then it takes me too. That's what a bond means. I won't survive without you anyway. His breath hitched. For a moment, I saw the man behind the alpha, the broken soul who had been abandoned, betrayed, and chained by destiny. His voice cracked. Why? After everything I've done to you, why would you choose me? Tears blurred my sight. Because fate didn't curse you, Sebastian. It cursed us. And I won't let it win. The fortress shook violently as the first strike hit the walls. War cries echoed outside. The enemy pack was here. Sebastian pushed himself up, snarling. They've come to finish me. His eyes flared, and I saw the wolf within him stir. The curse writhed, eager for blood. No, I said firmly, gripping his face. Not like this. Not through pain. Not through slaughter. If you fight them with hate, you'll lose yourself forever. Then what do you expect me to do? His roar shook the walls. Bow to them? Let them tear me apart. I swallowed hard, my pulse hammering. No. Let me bear it. Let me break the curse for you. He froze. Athena, no. But it was too late. I could feel it already. The bond between us pulsing. Threads of light weaving into my veins, pulling at something ancient, something divine. The moon goddess had given me to him not to suffer, but to end his suffering. And it would cost me everything. I climbed onto the bed, straddling him, pressing my hands to his chest. His heart thundered beneath my palms, wild and chaotic. Athena. His voice broke. He grabbed my wrists, but I didn't stop. I love you, I whispered finally freely. The words tore out of me like a scream and a prayer all at once. And if love is the only thing stronger than pain, then let it be enough. Light flared. The bond ignited, flooding the room with searing white fire. Sebastian roared, his back arching, the curse lashing out with claws of shadow. The black veins writhed, screaming through his body, trying to consume him and me. Pain ripped through me like knives. I felt my life bleeding out, my soul burning, my wolf crying in agony. But I held on. I held him. Sebastian's eyes went wide as he realized what I was doing. No, Athena, stop. You'll die. I shook my head, tears falling onto his skin. Then I'll die breaking your chains. The curse surged violently, but the bond fought back, light against shadow, love against hate. Every scream, every sob, every drop of blood between us became fuel. His claws sank into my waist as he thrashed beneath me, torn between pushing me away and clinging to me like I was the only thing tethering him to life. And maybe I was. The world shattered. I saw visions. Sebastian as a boy, beaten, abandoned, forced to fight for survival. Sebastian killing his father with his bare hands to escape torment. Sebastian alone, haunted, drowning in the belief that he could only exist by causing pain. And then I saw myself, my broken body in chains, my innocence stolen, my tears feeding his wolf. But through it all, I saw something else, a thread of light, weaving us together. Not by accident. By destiny. The curse wasn't just his burden. It was ours. And together we were stronger. With a final scream, I let the bond consume me entirely. The light exploded. The curse shattered. The fortress trembled, the shadows evaporating into nothing. The black veins across Sebastian's chest burned away, leaving scars that pulsed faintly but no longer writhed. He collapsed against me, gasping, his body slick with blood and sweat. And I felt my strength leaving. He caught me as I slumped in his arms, his voice ragged, panicked. Athena, stay with me. Don't you dare leave me now. My lips trembled as I forced a smile. You're free, Sebastian. That's all that matters. No, his eyes brimmed with tears, the unbreakable alpha begging like a child. Not without you. Don't do this to me. My vision blurred. Then live. Live for me. Live for us. And then, darkness. But fate wasn't so cruel. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in his arms under the pale light of dawn. My body was weak, but alive. The bond pulsed softly, steady and warm. The curse was gone. Sebastian's lips trembled as he pressed them to my forehead, his arms tightening around me. You saved me. You foolish, stubborn, perfect she-wolf. You saved me. I smiled faintly, tears slipping down my cheeks. We saved each other. Outside, the enemies had scattered, their courage broken when the curse's power vanished. The fortress still stood. And inside, for the first time in his life, Sebastian Valdez, the cursed alpha, was no longer cursed. He was simply mine.